Good evening, everyone. I want to acknowledge that we are holding these meetings this evening on the territory of the Coast Salish Nations, upon whose traditional territory we are located. I'm going to have the public hearing first. I want to call the public meeting to order, and I'm going to ask the corporate officer to introduce the public hearing process and the first item on the agenda, BYLAW 2000.111.
Yes, Your Worship. The Local Government Act requires that a public hearing be held before a council adopts an amendment to the zoning bylaw or official community plan bylaw. Copies of the staff reports and related information respecting the subject amendment bylaws and applications have been available for public examination at the offices of the Planning Department and Administration Department in Parksville Civic and Technology Centre and on the city's website. At this public hearing, all persons who deem their interest in property affected by a proposed bylaw or application shall be afforded an opportunity to be heard on matters contained within the bylaw or application. Anyone wishing to be heard on a specific bylaw amendment or application must come to the microphone at the appropriate time and clearly give their name and civic address. The council members request that speakers restrict discussion to the application on hand, which is the proposed use of the land. Members of council may ask questions of persons after they have made their presentation. However, the main function of council members this evening is to listen to the presentations and not to engage in debate. Whether you are for or against any particular bylaw or application during the course of a public hearing, council would ask that you not display any outbursts as a courtesy to all present this evening. No presentations or submissions will be received by council on any application after the motion for termination of the public hearing for that application has been adopted. Lastly, when a public hearing item has been terminated, council requests those persons wishing to leave the council chamber do so in a quiet and orderly manner in order that the public hearing may commence with the next item on the agenda. This evening there are two items on the agenda. Number 1, Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2017, number 2000.111. Proposes to amend City of Parksville Zoning and Development Bylaw 1994, number 2000. In general terms, the purpose of the proposed amendment is to amend the method of determining height of buildings and structures as it relates to types of grade. As of 4 p.m. on March 5, 2018, no correspondence has been received in response to this application.
Thank you, Mrs. Comas. All right, I'm going to invite anyone who would like to speak to come forward to the microphone and give their name and civic address for the Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2017, number 2000.111. For a second time, I'd like to invite anyone who would like to speak and come forward and give your name and civic address on Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2017, number 2000.111. And for a third and final time, I'd like to invite anyone who would like to come forward and speak to the Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2017, number 2000.111. Seeing no one, I'm going to ask for a motion from members of council to terminate the public hearing for Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2017, number 2000.111. Moved by Councillor Salter, seconded by Councillor Oates. All those in favor? Thank you. That meeting is terminated. That part of the meeting is terminated. Mrs. Comas, I'm going to ask you to introduce the second item on the agenda, which is application to discharge covenant at 1458 Industrial Way. If you would, please, Mrs. Gomez.
Yes, Your Worship. Application for discharge of covenant from 1458 Industrial Way proposes to discharge a covenant registered on title pursuant to Section 219 of the Land Title Act. In general terms, the proposed discharge of the notation would amend the permitted land use on the property at 1458 Industrial Way, legally described as Lot 1, Block 564, Nanoose District, Plan 42530, parcel identifier 001-971-476, To allow all uses permitted under the current I-1 zoning, the notation currently restricts use of the property to RV sales and service until the lands are serviced by water, sewer, and stormwater utilities and road frontages have been upgraded. As of 4 p.m. on March 5, 2018, one piece of correspondence had been received in response to this application. Rascal Trucking Limited of 1080 Industrial Way expressed opposition to removal of the covenant until the provisions of the covenant have been fulfilled or until there is adequate security in place to cover the costs.
Thank you. So for the first time, I'd like to invite anyone who would like to speak to come forward to the microphone and give their name and civic address for the application for discharge of covenant from 1458 Industrial Way. Would you please turn the microphone on? There's a black button there on the base. Yeah. Okay.
Is that better?
Yes, that's fine.
I was contacted by the president of Rascal Trucking. I'm a director of...
Could you hold the microphone closer to, or put it closer to?
I'm a director of Rascal Trucking. I was contacted by the president, who's in Mexico, when he learned of this public hearing. And his concern, and mine mostly, has got nothing to do with the covenant being taken off. Take no quarrel with that. But if I can, just encourage you to give a little more notice. It caused quite a panic among this weekend for quite a few people because of the shortness of notice. We were suspicious with some reason why there couldn't have been at least a week's notice. That's my only concern, and Rascal's only concern at this time.
Thank you. For a second time, I'd like to invite anyone who would like to speak to come forward to the microphone on the application for discharge of covenant from 1458 Industrial Way. For a third time, final time, I'd like to invite anyone who would like to speak to come forward and give your name and civic address on application for discharge of covenant from 1458 Industrial Way. Seeing none, I'm going to ask for council for a motion to receive the correspondence. Moved by Councillor Salter, seconded by Councillor Burden. All those in favor? Thank you. That's unanimous. I now need a motion to terminate the public hearing. Moved by Councillor Burden, seconded by Councillor Beale. All those in favor? Thank you. That is carried. I'd like to advise the public that once the public hearing is adjourned, Council cannot entertain further submissions or correspondence from the public on the proposed bylaw. So I want a mover and a seconder to adjourn the public hearing. Moved by Councillor Burden, seconded by Councillor Oates. All those in favor? Thank you. You are adjourned. So now we're moving on to the council meeting of this evening.